Well, hi, everybody. I bet you know what today is. Today is the day after Christmas, and it's the Friday after Christmas. And if you see my screen shaking, it's because my closest fur companion, Mariella, is here, and she's messing with the screen on my laptop, and my camera's attached to it, and you might possibly hear her. Um, Life is a lot of crazy things. Here she is, and I'm going to put her down. Uh, I'm thankful for pets. I know there are a lot of pet lovers out there. Welcome, by the way, to Resolve to Live Forward. Resolve to Live Forward. Anyway, it's the Friday after Christmas. We know that the Friday after Thanksgiving is called Black Friday, or it used to be called Black Friday, and now that Monday that follows Thanksgiving is Cyber Monday. And of course, the term black, that's just, everybody's operating in the year and they're operating in the red, as they say. And then along comes a time where sales just explode and there's tremendous resurgence of cash flow into the economy and into the lives of the people who make it their business to sell us goods and services and products. Then, of course, I find that the day after Christmas, no matter what day that falls, it just so happens to be on a Friday this year, the it has a sense of the same feel. Christmas merchandise, for example, a lot of Christmas merchandise over the years, it's been refined so much so that companies would rather sell the merchandise by marking it down drastically. Now, is that losing money? Yeah. Does that mean that they don't make a profit? Probably they do make a profit because this is merchandise sold in stores that sell a variety of things. The result is, while people are in the store looking for those items that they can buy and then store up and put away for next year's holiday season, they also wind up shopping for all kinds of other things that are at their regular price and have a profit margin attached to them. I don't claim to be a business person. I'm not. I'm certainly not into the Wall Street thing or the financial markets things. I'm into the understanding of how things work. And as much as they work and as much as there seems to be a certain consistency to it, there's also a great degree of uncertainty in things. Now, I'm not here to cast a shadow on things. I want to talk to you today here on Resolve to Live Forward about something that is very important to me. This is not for everybody, so if you are watching for the first time, I'm John Morrow. I'm 75 years of age as of this date, December the 26th of 2025. This particular podcast is published through a hosting platform called Buzzsprout. Among the podcast channels that carry this program are Spotify and the Apple Store, or what I call the iTunes Store. There are other podcast channels as well that are part of this Buzzsprout hosting platform. So at 12 noon on Friday of every week, that's Eastern Time, 12 noon, Buzzsprout, the hosting platform, launches this pre recorded podcast out to these different podcasting channels. You're joining with me. What is the title again? It's Resolve to Live Forward. It's what I'm made up of. It's what I am. It's my mission. It's my purpose. Using the power word resolve, which is defined here as having a definite, firm plan of action, and then taking the seven letters RESOLVE, giving you behaviors which are, in my description, personal best practices. This is a podcast that I strive to publish every Friday faithfully. This is today's episode, and I hope that by the time you're watching it, it has successfully made its way through the various doorways and paths in the publishing system. I will further point out that this podcast is recorded in audio form with video, and therefore it is published on a YouTube channel, Resolve to Live Forward with John Morrow. Very quickly, I would love to hear from you. Now, nobody's actually communicated with me, and I'm on Facebook, by the way, and LinkedIn, but nobody has actually communicated with me by email, and that's okay. Maybe someday someone will reach out to me and connect with me and talk to me about what it is that I'm sharing with you. It's my hope and my dream as we wind down 2025, but at the same time gear up for 2026, that I'm able to begin to bring guests onto my podcast who speak to things about personal mindset and attitude and living forward purposeness, that I bring on these kinds of people to be the kind of interviews that would make an impact upon people who actually take the time to listen to this podcast. Let me also say thank you for being with me here today. Getting back to the fact, this is that Friday after Christmas. Lots of activity, but because it's situated as a Friday after a holiday, a lot of people are on an extended long weekend. Consider it this way, they're getting not just Christmas Day off, but they're being given the Friday off as well, so that they get a 4-day weekend, if you want to call it that. But others are at work. And of course, as I was traveling yesterday to spend Christmas with family members in a major metropolitan area near where I live, I happened to notice that there were some businesses that were open, and one in particular in Tampa is a casino, and that casino was packed. So a lot of people spent Christmas Day in a casino trying to hit the jackpot. Hmm, interesting. During the course of 2026, I'm going to have the opportunity to present on a TEDx stage. Now, let me explain. A lot of you out there know about TED Talks, TED, TED Talks. And you probably know about the affiliate organization of subscribers who create TED Talk events under TEDx. And TED is uppercase TED, and then the X is a lowercase. It's a subdivision of the TED Talk, but they adhere to and subscribe to the same approach. And the idea here is these presentations, these speeches are ideas that can change lives. I come from a situation where something came into my life, was an idea that I adopted with the help of my late wife, and it helped to transform and change my life in a very, very dark time. Today, as we have a few minutes, I want to talk to you on this last Friday of 2025, a form of Black Friday, in that a lot of people are shopping today, looking for bargains, going to stock up, store, and put away. Plus, people are at home, probably taking down Christmas decorations, but all of the trappings that take place, as well as the fact that for some people it's an insignificant holiday. It doesn't matter to them. It's coming down to the end of the year. The more important thing is, what will 2026 bring? Honestly, I have no clue. I know what I'd like to do. I'm thankful for the fact that I have a challenge to do a TEDx here in Central Florida in February of 2026 if I see the light of day, and I'm thankful that that does occur. But that's then. This is now. And right now, Here's the thing that I want to share with you today as we talk about the importance of understanding that there are really only two ways that we can live our life. Now, that sounds like an oversimplification, but just hear me out. Life, you've heard the phrase, is not fair. Well, nobody said that life was supposed to be fair. That having been said, life can be full of exciting and wonderful things. Life can also throw you a myriad of curveballs, as they call it, although I think it's less about curveballs and more about just the junk of life. And when it's thrown at you, it can cause you to suffer and to have struggles and pain. I get the pain part, especially the emotional pain part. Now, I'll tell you, at 75, I think I'm doing pretty good for the shape that I'm in at this age. But the truth is, my body tells me, hey, you're not as young as you used to be. You're 75. You can't do all the things that you used to be able to do. You just don't have that physical capacity. You're starting to wear out, John. So be more measured in the choices that you make. And that's one of the beautiful things about being human is you can make choices. And you can make good choices or you can make less than good choices or you can make really bad choices. And for everything that we choose to do, I thoroughly believe, and this is not karma, I think this is just a law of cause and effect. Whatever you do, there's a result for that. And if you do something wrong, there's a consequence for that. Now, that's not what I'm talking about. When I talk about things that happen to you that literally debilitate you emotionally, physically, financially, may I say spiritually, if you are a person of faith, there are things that come that you don't plan for, the unexpected. And I'm talking about that thing which, when it hits you, it drives you to your knees and probably causes you to fall to your face, laying flat down. And frankly, the safest place to be feels like flat on your face. Here's the thing, as you are now feeling the reverberating after effects of the initial devastating impact of whatever it was that has hit you in your life, there's a question that you raise. What do I do now? What's next? How can I possibly go on from here? From here. That's why I had the mindset program of resolve as a definite, firm plan of action and the 7 behaviors of resilience, engagement, service, organization, love of learning, visionary mindset, and an enthusiastic attitude. And all of these things are behaviors that we choose to live and do. And if we do commit to doing them each and every day and doing all 7 of them each and every day, they form a process, a framework for personal success, but they can also form a framework and a process for recovery, for being able to find a way to get up off your face after lying there face down in that pool of grief and sorrow that engulfs your life when something devastating happens. It's that process that gives you something that you can say, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. As hard as it may feel, I have something in place, and if I do it, I know I can find a way and even probably find a reason to want to move forward and a reason why I need to move forward and a reason not to let the devastation make me decide I just rather give up, quit, and wait to die. The text of my speech, as I'm continuing to hone and fine tune it for the TEDx event that's coming here to Central Florida in February of 2026, speaks directly to that, but it speaks from a much broader point. I've discovered since my greatest and most cathartic and tragic grief experience, and that was watching my wife die, I have discovered that grief comes in many forms and shapes and fashions. It's just that this particular grief represents the most terrible time that I've ever experienced in my life. I had to find a way to move forward, not past it, not past the grief, not past the event, because I was moving forward without the most important single human being in my life. I had to find a way, because I'm still here. Would it have been the right choice to simply say, curl up and die? Or was it the right choice, the better choice, to say, find a way to live, find a way to move forward, find a way to make a difference, and find a way to be meaningful to you and to others? And so the text of the speech talks about that process. But we have to frame the grief part of it, because grief isn't just about death. In truth, we all have experienced various forms of grief in various levels. The intensity of the grief, of course, is obviously directly related to the specific type of loss that we suffered. And grief usually is associated with something important to us and to those we love being taken from us. And if you were to sit down, and I'm not saying to do this, but again, because of my experience and the messaging that I want to pass on to you, I began to discover the importance that we all share in this sorrow, this pain, this anguish, this heartbreak. And we can't get around it. We didn't ask for it. We didn't want it. In some cases, yes, it may have been a consequence, but I'm not here to talk about the results of things we do that we should have thought about not doing, or could have done better, or could have avoided doing at all. But rather, it's to talk about the fact that something that was meaningful to you was taken from you, no matter how it was taken. Some of the things that I'll just briefly share: you got married, you were in love, you wanted it to work, you committed for a lifetime, but the relationship fell apart and there was a divorce. That's a grief moment. Not always, but for some people, it's the most traumatic thing that's ever happened in their life. You have a pet, a dog, a cat. Those are creatures that have been a part of my life. And I have wept over the loss of these precious creatures, because they're so unconditional in their devotion and love to you. They are the most selfless creatures you could possibly find. What about having a job that you loved and looked forward to going to, and times got so that the job was yanked out from underneath you? Just the other day, I finally sat down and watched a movie with Ben Affleck and um, Tommy Lee Jones and Kevin Costner, The Company Man. I think that's the title of it, The Company Man. And I remember having a job that was taken from me simply because the company I worked for was sold to another company. And when the new people came in, they didn't want to keep the group that was there, that was part of the framework of the company. They instead wanted to eliminate positions, scale it back, start working to create more profitable operational system, and bring in the people that they felt were better equipped to handle their way of doing business. It was devastating. And the consequences of it lingered on in my life for over 2 years, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's probably happened to you. Have you ever had a diagnosis that had a sense of fatality built into it? In other words, it was a lethal diagnosis. What did that do to you as far as the will and the mindset to keep going? Or maybe you had some type of a situation where your home was broken into and something precious and priceless to you and valuable was taken from you. What about a accident that resulted in a fire that destroyed a portion of your home? What about a car accident? The list of things that can happen that devastate you and put you flat on your face and bring a flood of sorrow and heartbreak and pain into your life are grieving moments. They are a form of death, but not maybe literal death, as in the death of a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a significant other, and other loved ones. And these things don't give us a heads up. Even the grieving process in watching a loved one slowly die from a incurable disease is in and of itself a very painful experience that stretches out over time. The loss of my wife on June 2nd, 2019 was sudden and instantaneous, and it happened right before my very eyes. But the shock of it, the true impact of it, did not happen immediately because when I found my wife having collapsed in the kitchen, I was on that level that you go into that is part of that response that's built into us, calling for help and then watching as first responders worked on her, then going to the hospital emergency room as they continued to work on her, and then being confronted with the question or with the decision, which I think is a better way to describe it. It's been 45 minutes that her heart has not been beating. She's been in cardiac arrest. We'll continue to work on her, but I need to tell you, usually when the brain has not had this kind of oxygen that is a life-giving, life-maintaining source going to the brain, there is permanent brain damage. And we can keep trying, and if we restart the heart, we have no clue what this is going to manifest as far as cognitive ability is concerned. And so I was presented with the choice of saying, please keep trying or stop. Now remember, I was in that fight or flight mode. When I said the words to her, one word, stop. She said 3 words, time of death. That was the moment. Better than 45 minutes after I found her collapsed unconscious on the floor. That was when I heard myself finally confronting the reality. This is permanent. It's a done deal. She's gone. These are the things that happen in life, no matter what, where we have a denial process taking place, and then the reality sinks in, and we have to confront how we are going to move forward, if we move forward at all from that point. My contention is, I believe we must choose to live forward. How we do that depends upon what type of support we have around us, what type of a personal resolve we possess, what type of process is in our life that gives us structure to be able to move forward and to move forward with meaningful purpose. But I think you're getting what I'm saying here. Yes, it's grieving, but the grief is a part of living, and it's your choice to want to continue to live, even if you must move forward without something that is incredibly precious to you. You find a way, but not everybody does. Some people choose in their minds first and then in their whole self to quit. And it's kind of like curling up into a fetal position and praying that you die sooner rather than later because you can't stand the thought of trying to live without this. You just want to quit. Please don't do that. But that's what I talk about. Anyway, my TED Talk's not going to be quite that protracted, but it is something that I'm going to be sharing with you. And again, as we are winding up this edition of Resolve to Live Forward, I want to take the opportunity to remind you your feedback is important. So let me share with you my email address, johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. I also am on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. This particular podcast is published across multiple podcast channels, including Spotify and what I call the iTunes or the Apple Store. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, this is the last episode for the calendar year 2025. Excuse me. But by the grace of God and the light of day, I'm going to be right back here next week on the day after New Year's, and I hope to bring you another episode. I cannot tell you enough how much I appreciate the fact that you are listening to this. And if you're on YouTube, I can't say enough about how much I appreciate you watching this. I would also ask you, if you are watching me on YouTube, please like and subscribe and help me begin to build a community of people who connect with this type of situation and are looking for a meaningful reason not to allow themselves to get stuck and to give up, but rather to find a new mechanism to shift into a forward living direction. Remember what I always say. It's not about moving past the event. It's about learning how to live forward with the event and not let the event debilitate you, but let the event become a tool to motivate you and also a tool to help you to help others who are going through the very same thing. We are stronger when we are together, and we are actually each other's emotional first aid kits. Let's connect. Let's keep going. Let's keep striving. John Morrow saying, thank you for joining me for Resolve to Live Forward. I conclude this episode, and I will remind you once again, as I always do, please, 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 whatever you do, keep living forward. It's the mindset that will give your life a meaningful, vibrant, significant purpose. So long for now. Look forward to seeing you this time next week. Bye-bye.